Hi, I'm teacher Sarah. You and I met just a few minutes ago in my car. My car, where all of my ballet lessons are hiding, where all of my resources are kept because I expect that I'll teach X, Y, and Z story on any given day, where all of my rewards are held for my students. All of that in my car. There's still room for passengers, don't worry. But I wanted to give you a view, right? This job, enrichment providing, or journeyman teaching, or paraeducator, it's something everyone can do. And it's something that you could do, sorry about that, if you only have an hour a week, or you could do it 40 hours a week. I began this idea to offer this class when a friend of mine said, I really expected you to teach parents who only have the school day to offer, because you could actually make a pretty decent living if you only worked a couple hours a day. You could really help the family. So what you do is you match your available time to the school or to the center or to the age group. And you can do this with a little bit of pre-planning, and you can also do it when you're immediately negotiating what it is you're going to offer with whatever venue you're approaching. I, for example, started talking to people about how to be official enrichment providers when a really clever lady who was also going to teach at a preschool that I used to teach at. She wanted to offer flamenco lessons to the preschoolers, and she wanted to know what was required in order to do that. And I just have sort of informally been helping people for many years. So I thought, why not make it official? Now, I want to really clarify here. You marry the free time you have to the age group or to the center or to the audience that you can reach or that you want to reach. It's a little bit of a dance, but a very good one. You can do this for as little as you want or as long as you want. You could do this for a short period of time or you could do it forever. This can be a side hustle or you could totally reinvent the industry. I have seen people do it in every way. You choose your adventure. This job, this business, it works for caregivers who only have school hours to work. It works for artists who need to preserve time for their own creating, or like me, who were injured and just couldn't have another job. It works for scientists who need to preserve time for their own work. It works for athletes who are looking for extra income or waiting for a season. This is actually one of the most common ways that I've seen people from other fields enter this. That's always been a lovely thing to me. I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to are offering, like, you know, second graders practice with soccer because they're waiting to get a call from our local pro team. This works for teachers in need of extra income. And my favorite, this works for anyone with expertise that's not already taught in school. Piano, pottery, cooking, leadership, coordination skills, personal finance. I personally teach ballet and etiquette. I teach them together and I teach them separately. To the young kids, I teach a ballet and etiquette curriculum that I invented, and to the older kids, I teach etiquette. And it's got a kind of natural life cycle where I teach the very young children certain introductory elements of manners. And then when those children are older, their parents come back to me and say, we're ready for an etiquette class with fine dining. So I have a bit of a life cycle where I get to keep a hold of my students for longer because my age group is 2 to 8. That means that once they grow out of me, they need to go to a place that has a wall-sized mirror and a bar, that has a Marley floor or some other kind of danceable floor. And most importantly, they need to go to a place where they could see the next level beyond them working. They need to be able to see the older kids dancing and say, oh, I want to learn to do that. That's really crucial for them. And that's not really something you could do as an enrichment provider, but you can do a lot. So much. Now, I want to give you a side detail about this. If you're interested in preschool or senior centers, they have a tendency to have mornings open. And that's not something that you're going to get ever from elementary or junior high. Maybe if you know, I don't know, maybe if you found like a happy home and in a community that had adult classes, you could offer morning classes. But generally speaking, the morning classes are the province of young kids and retirees. So if you're going to be needing mornings, then preschool might be the direction you need to go. Um, if you want to work in preschool, we're going to start from the bottom. You need your fingerprints cleared by the Department of Justice. And this is something that I talk to you about later on in the lesson. You need selective vaccines, like proof of them. And that, again, I talk to you about later on in the lesson. You need a mandated reporter certificate. I talk to you about that later on in the lesson, and I give you some links where you could go to get them. It costs about $20. It's a depressing few hours, I'm not going to lie to you. And every different place has a different training. So the different states have different trainings, and the different churches have their own trainings. I believe that the Catholic Church had one called Protecting God's Children. Now, I want to direct your attention to element number one under requirements of preschool. 12 to 18 college units in early childhood education is going to make it so that you can be left with the children without anyone in the school needing to be present with you. This is very valuable, but it is not required. Now, the reason I say it is not required is that the person who not only identifies, defines, and but also most importantly enforces all of these rules is CDSS. That's in California. CDSS is the Department of Children and Family Services. Some places it's called the Department of Social Services, sometimes Department of Children and Families. There are many different names. You need to find out what it's called in your state. One thing that I will work on over time is constructing lists of what the departments are in every state so that you could have quicker access to these. Every state has slightly different requirements, but they're only slightly different. Now, let me tell you why I'm telling you about this. CDSS in California, or social services in the state you're in, they have a department inside of social services that just licenses preschools and early education centers. And those people, they audit, they enforce, they come to the school, they make sure that you are following all of the rules. They let you know when the rules change. They if they're wonderful, the ones that we have in Northern California are magnificent. They let themselves be available so that you can call them and you can say, gosh, I think that my fingerprints are at this school. Can you prove to me? Can you tell me that my fingerprints are at this school? Because the school isn't totally sure, for example. That's a lamentable situation and very rare, by the way. But it's one of the million questions that you can ask licensing. Another question that you might want to ask licensing is, I want to be a vendor. I want to offer dance classes, pottery classes, movement classes, coordination classes, whatever. I want to offer classes at preschools. Do I need to have all of the 12 to 18 units in early childhood education to do it? If I don't have those units, what's required? You get the bottom line from them, because I'll tell you something that's really important about what's going to happen to you when you go looking for venues. And I've got classes on all of these elements because I want you to be prepared and I want this to be easy for you. But what you're going to learn is that you're going to be working with small businesses, just like you're a small business. And you know what small businesses are always figuring out? They're always figuring out the changing landscape. And if the landscape is changing, that means the rules are changing. And if the rules are changing, people are going to be unsure about it. So your job is to know your rules. Your job is to know the laws that govern the job, the business that you're running. And once you do, when you tell the other people, you can also tell them who told you. And then they go, okay, oh my gosh, you know what's going on. We are covering each other. Because ultimately, what enrichment providers do is they partner with venues. It's your job and it's your business, and you're in charge of your successes and your failures. You're in charge of your income and what you do with it and your growth. You're in charge of all of that. It's really, really great, but it's also not the most solitary job. And that means that you can talk to people. And that's great because the people you're going to talk to are usually wonderful. They're going to make you hopeful. They're going to make you happy that you're around them. And a lot of growth comes from it. And that's entirely the goal. Okay. I really hope that you enjoy the lessons. We start by talking about what you're going to teach, choosing a subject to teach, and then choosing an age group to marry it to, and then how to build your curriculum and how to do research on the field so that you can be a bit strategic about how you move forward. And then after that, we talk about building your business. It is all a real step by step process. I wish it could be a bit shorter. Maybe someone out there can give me an idea as to how it might be shorter. But the big goal is to prepare you so that you can go out there, take care of all the tasks, get to teaching, and make a really happy living at this work because it's great. I hope you love it, and I want to hear all about it. All right, onward and upward.